So in increasing the minimum wage, it's not really going to have much of an effect on our government's economy. For Congress, this is from an article on Forbes.com. Congress raised the minimum wage Congress raised the minimum wage 10.6% in July 2009. In the ensuing 6 months, nearly 600,010 jobs disappeared, even with nearly 4% growth in the economy. This compared to a loss of 250,000 jobs in the first half of the year, as GDP growth declined by 4%. So, like the minimum wage didn't really have that much of a positive effect when it raised in 2009. Although they raised the minimum wage and 600,000 jobs disappeared, and even though the economy raised by 4%. They compared to a loss of 250,000 jobs in the first half of the year. And also, if we compare like the minimum wage to how it was before, the minimum wage would be lower nowadays in order to stabilize it according to like our standard of living. And this was from an article on Washington Times by Richard Vernon. And if the minimum wage had been indexed to inflation based on 1938 levels, the year it was executed, its current rate would be $4.08. So we were going to compare the minimum wage and compared to like back then, and try to like level it out to increase our standard of living. It wouldn't have that much of an effect and the minimum wage would be lower than it is today. And as long as the minimum wage increases the standard of living of individuals, the more we raise the minimum wage, the harder it would be for low-skilled workers to get jobs, and which will cost for them to get jobs, and will lower the standard of living of the family for those who are low-skilled. And it's from an article on, sorry about that. From Forbes, it's raising the cost of labor raises the incentive for employers to find ways to find less ways to use less labor. So for those who are low skilled, let's say like you work at McDonald's, and if the minimum wage there is $8, and if they raise it, it's going to give an incentive to McDonald's to get more like technology to like advance better and get rid of like the cashiers instead. So they'll eliminate that if you raise the minimum wage, it'll get rid of the low-skilled workers, and it'll create an incentive for corporations to use technology instead of employers, which will cost jobs and affect the standard of living of individuals. And another effect that the minimum wage increase in the wage will have, and it's that for those it'll create like a pretty much, in order to get future jobs, it will cost even more jobs, because you need low skilled, pretty much when you start off, let's say you work at McDonald's and you use that experience to get another job at a higher level. So if you eliminate the minimum wage, you eliminate for the possibility for an individual to kind of, how can I put this, to better himself in the future, to get better jobs and like create a better standard of living. And on the economy, and if we want to use the minimum wage to increase poverty, to decrease poverty, there's been studies that shows that if we increase the minimum wage, it won't have an effect on poverty necessarily. And this is from a congressional record on the government printing office on a hearing. The speaker was Mr. Smith. And increasing the minimum wage will not make a dent in the poverty rate. Of the 23.5 million people in poverty, just over 2% are working for the minimum wage. Increasing the minimum wage will cost the unskilled their job opportunities. And another thing about increasing the minimum wage is compliance. There are a lot of companies that hire illegal immigrants, and they pay them less than the minimum wage. So even if they do increase the minimum wage, it doesn't necessarily mean that people will comply by increasing the minimum wage. And it's from a study that shows. Sorry about that. Pretty much, there's a lot of immigrants in the United States, and many of companies hire them to decrease the amount they pay for labor. So it doesn't necessarily mean that if we increase the minimum wage, it'll help the economy. For the purpose of a company is to get more profit, and if they increase the minimum wage, they'd rather just hire an illegal immigrant to gain more profit overall.